Welcome back to the O Hockey Show, you beautiful people that have decided to click on this. Welcome back. You already know what we're talking about. We're talking about the St. Louis Blues and who on their team has the worst contract. So let's jump right into it. Let's start off with Brayden Schenn. Now, his deal right now really isn't that bad. $6.5 million for him isn't bad. He got 58 points last year, and really he's been consistently kind of that rate. Don't worry about the cool special effects going on. I'm just magic. He really is not overpaid right now. 58 points, and he really has consistently been in that point range. He's always been in a 58, sometimes a little above, sometimes a little below, but I think he's gotten like 58 points I think it was like 4 times in his career or something as I was looking at it. Like, consistently, he's been getting that amount of points. That's his range, like, in that 58. So 6.5, maybe a little overpayment, but really not that bad for 58 points a year. The thing that scares me is that he's already 31, and this is 6 more years till 2028. Now, I would say his game has dropped a little bit in the past few years, and even though his points are still the same, I think that might be helped by the fact that the Blues have gotten better as a team over these last few years. But for Brayden Schenn, he's kind of like a strong man center, like physical player, and especially for a centerman as well. He's already 31. This is for 6 more years. I just don't see his game staying the way it is. I think maybe this year could be another solid year for him, maybe, but I definitely see the last 5 years of his deal being kind of a tragic one. I definitely don't see him being consistently 58 points and above through the rest of this contract. It's a weird one, too, because it was just signed, too. I think this is the first year going into it, or last year was. It's a weird one that I don't know why they would sign a guy for this long who's already 30, $6.5 million. It's kind of strange to me, especially for a guy like Brayden Schenn, because sure, you could bet on a guy like Crosby to stay consistent through his 30s as well, or guys like Patrick Kane, but a guy like Brayden Schenn, he's not the type of player that I'm going to say, yeah, that guy's going to stay consistent till he's like 37 when he retires. So, weird contract for me. It's not bad right now, but in the future it will be. Right now it's not that bad, but I definitely don't see the last at least 4 years, if not 5, of this being a bad contract. But right now it's okay. But here's a contract that really scares me is Colton Parayko's brand new going to effect. His as well, $6.5 million, but this is for 8 years till 2030. 2030. Now, this guy has, once again, this guy throughout his career has gotten to 28 to 35 points in his whole career. So, $6.5 million for that. It's kind of strange to me for a defenseman, especially since there's other options out there. Now, the thing about Parayko is that he does have one of the hardest shots in the league, I remember. But also, he's 6'6". He's a big physical impact player guy. He was a plus 10. Is that a 10? No, 16. I don't even know why I wrote that on the board. Now, this guy, I like Colton Parayko, but $6.5 million for 8 more years is absurd. He is already, I forget how old he is. He's up there. He's like 28 to 30 or something like that. Like, Colton Parayko's not young. This deal makes absolutely no sense to me why this was signed. Absolutely no sense. Right now, it's not that bad. $6.5 million for a big physical guy who's playing most of the minutes for your guys on the blue line really isn't that bad. But 35 points for him is, I guess there is like the size bonus, I guess, that seems to happen because guys like Jamie Alexiak and who was the guy I was talking about the last time. I guess you get a bonus for being really tall, so 6'6" guy, but I don't know. I don't get it. $6.5 million for him, a new contract, makes no sense to me. I do not understand why this deal even exists. It shouldn't. I would say he's a good $4 million guy because you have that big tallness, size factor, impact guy. Points wise, not amazing. 35 points. I mean, I don't know. He's consistently even gotten 28 to 35 points. So even if you're paying him for that range, it's just a strange deal for me. It's a strange deal for. Oh, I know why I put the plus 16 on there is because he was the lowest plus player on defense for the Blues. There was 2 guys below him in the minuses, and then Falk, Torrey Krug, and Scandella were all higher pluses than him. So that was one thing I wanted to note, is that Colton Parayko, even defensively, isn't that amazing. So it's a very strange deal to me that makes no sense at all why it was signed. But, I mean, that's what it is. $6.5 million. 8 more years is what scares me. Because I would say for the next 2, it's like whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if he stays in that range. But in the last 6 years of this, I don't know. It's just a strange deal for me. I wouldn't bet on a guy like Colton Parayko for 8 years. But whatever. But then we move on to Marco Scandella. Now, this is a deal that isn't really terrible. The thing about it is that it just kind of is a... Marco Scandella really is just holding a spot on the team that somebody else should and could and would do better with. So, he had 14 points last year. He's 32 years old. He just signed this deal, I think, 2 years ago. This goes to 2024, so for not that long, 2 more years, for $3.275, which isn't really that much, but it is a lot for a guy who's holding up a spot that could go to other guys. So that's the thing that I really want to focus on here, is that he's never been great. He's like his highest point year, I think, was like 28 or something like that. So nothing amazing, nothing outstanding. And he's not like a huge player by any means. Like, he's not that great of a guy. They signed him to this deal, and the thing that makes me confused about it is the fact, now I know these guys didn't exist on the team yet, but he's just taking up a spot for a younger guy that these guys that have shown that they're better. So a guy like Callie Rosen, he had 7 points in 9 games or something like that went in his short little stint in the NHL. No, he had 7 points in 18 games. Yes, and then Scott Perunovich, who I love. Perunovich just wowed me in the playoffs. Perunovich, I think he was like 9 points in 18 games. Now, if you want to look at it, these guys had half the amount of points that Marco Scandella had in 18 games. Scandella took 80 games to get to 14 points. Not very good. Scandella is just taking up a spot for other guys to play on this team. And that's what frustrates me about it, is that these young guys that are easily can slot in and become actual impact good players. Marco Scandella is just one of those defensemen that have always existed in the league, that plays for the Sabres and just like doesn't really do anything. Kind of like a Colin Miller. Like, just a defenseman that doesn't really do anything for their team. They're just a guy that can be filled in by any team that just needs a roster spot. They can fit anywhere in the defense if you want them in the bottom or the top line to go with your top defenseman. He can fit anywhere, but they're not going to bring anything special. They're not going to bring any wow factor. They're good enough to play in the NHL, but they're not anything special that anyone's going to want to buy their jersey, you know? So Marco Scandella is just taking up a spot for 2 more years, too. Because these young guys, you want to buy in. You want to bring these guys up and show off that they do have so much skill and that they are the future of this team. Scandella, 32 years old, 2 more years. 2 more years, if they keep him around, that is, for these guys to come up and develop. And it's just a bad deal. That's just taking up a spot for two guys that should have these spots. So, for me, Scandella's contract isn't really terrible on paper, but in context it is. So, it's an overpayment even just for himself personally, but it's more of an impact on the team as a whole and the guys that they could be bringing in to become better. So, if I was to name who has the worst contract on this team, now, I kind of wanted to bring up some. I see a lot of things saying Jordan Binnington is the worst, has a bad deal. I don't think so. I think he is overpaid a little bit, but just seeing what he did in the playoffs this year, like when Binnington's in the playoffs, he's in the zone. You know, when he needs to be on fire, he's on fire, he's unstoppable. So, or I guess I should say unbreakable. So, I don't think he's overpaid. I just think he had a bad regular season. But once he was in the postseason, he was incredible. So, I don't really put a lot of stock into that. I don't really listen to that. So, a couple other ones I think I saw people didn't like. Somebody else's, I can't remember. But out of the list here, who would I say is the worst deal? I would put it on Braden Shen. Because Colton Parayko is younger than Braden Shen, and even regardless, Colton Parayko is 6'6", so he's bigger. He's always going to be that he's going to have the size with him. It's not like he's going to shrink. Braden Shen is a forward, and you're expected to get points out of your forwards, and for 6 more years at the same price, I just feel like he's going to drop off sooner than Colton Parayko will. And Parayko, regardless of if his production goes down, he still has that size factor for a defenseman. So that's all I have to say about the St. Louis Blues and their contract and who is the worst one on the team. So I guess if you liked this video, please pick up your free subscription by hitting that red subscribe button. If you liked it, leave a like down, a dislike, but go down below and tell me how stupid I am for choosing Braden Shen's worst contract. Tell me how it actually is Jordan Binnington, how he's a disgrace, how he's a crybaby. Tell me how stupid I am, right in my face, how dumb I am for choosing that. So tell me all that down below. Until next time, I've been your dapperly dressed host, Owen. Too sweet. I hope you're having an amazing day. And ta-ta for now.